I feel like I was robbed of a place. I was robbed of a childhood. I was robbed of a place that I loved. My almost daily life in Lebanon was just dodging bombs and running away from death and not knowing when you're going to get up the next day, or if your limbs are going to be intact, or are you going to have your parents alive tomorrow, or am I just going to get hit by a bomb when I'm sleeping at night and just blow up into a million pieces.
When was America a realistic possibility for your family?
It didn't hit me that this was my reality and my future until a few months after coming to the States, and my dad decided, you're not going back. You're staying here.
Dr. Guitta Harb, welcome to the Roller Coaster Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Tyler.
Excited to be here with you.
Same here.
We've gotten to know each other a little bit through the interwebs of social media.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to just learn more about you. And I'm very excited to get to share your story with the world today.
Same here. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
When you think back to the war that you escaped in Lebanon as a young child, is there a single image or smell or moment that still lives in you today that will never leave?
Oh my gosh. As far as an image, I think I see a dark dungeon. That was my shelter, and that was our shelter underground where we would escape the bombs and run downstairs. And the image in my head is just cement floors and a cold place, no electricity. And sometimes you'd see some cockroaches on the floor. I mean, it was literally an underground basement kind of a thing where it was just cold and dark, and that's the image I have. A smell, I mean, I would think it would be more of a, not like a rotten blaze, but like it was obviously didn't have a nice smell because it was underground and all of that. But really the image in my head that I can't get out of my head was always a dark, cold, scary place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the people that were around you during that time as you're evading bombs in the middle of a war?
I remember, our shelter was obviously for a bunch of families, neighbors and things like that. So I just remember when we would go down there, it was more of like everyone just coming down together. And most of the time it would be literally like in your PJs, and people would be in their nightgowns because they would bomb in the middle of the night. And so all the families would come down and just kind of like hunker down underground. And sometimes we'd have mattresses and we'd just kind of all like throw in blankets and mattresses and sleep underground. And, but it was scary faces. It was kids crying, tired, exhausted, worried. And those are the faces I remember, just like horror faces, and just sometimes the kids screaming as they're running down the shelter, and because the bombs were getting closer and closer. And it's just not a pretty sight. But once we were underground, it was sometimes felt like even in the midst of chaos, it was somehow like you felt that there was support and a community. And like all these people getting together, in a weird sense, it was sort of comforting. Although you're in a situation that was very scary, and there was some kind of comfort because you kind of were all in it, as opposed to like you're just being alone in the situation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I remember when I was little.
What do you remember about your parents coming to you and making the decision that you're going to get out of this situation and that you guys are going to leave as a young child? And did you really understand what that meant? Like, hey, we're going to leave?
The way we left Lebanon was very abrupt. I remember the day that we left, my dad just said, pack your bags. We're leaving. There was no plan of leaving. There was no say goodbye to your friends and, at school, or say goodbye to your cousins or family. I remember one day my dad got up and goes, "We're leaving tonight. We're leaving. So just pack up. We're going to close the house, close all the shutters, and we're just going to take off." And in my mind, I really didn't think that this was going to be the last time I'm going to see my home. I thought, oh, we're just going on this vacation. And because he said, we're just going to go to Cyprus for a few weeks and see how the situation is going to be. It's going to get better, I think, and we're going to come back home. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, well, although we're leaving abruptly, but we're coming back. So I was scared. I was very scared because I was, very young at that point. But in my head, I remember as we're leaving that night, and we left at 2:00 in the morning on a ship that was not supposed to actually pick you up. There was these kind of secret ships that would come pick up passengers and leave in the middle of the night. And sometimes they make it and sometimes they don't. So you just pack your stuff and you go and you wait. If you make it on, great. And if you don't, you have to come back the next day. So it was one of those things because the airport was shut down. The ports were closed. The borders were closed. You couldn't leave the country at the time. And so, yeah, it wasn't a plan where we had a week or 2 or a month to say, okay, like in a month we're leaving. It wasn't anything like that. It's just, I remember the war got so bad that my dad one day just said, pack your stuff and we're leaving tonight at 3:00 in the morning or 2:00 in the morning.
If you close your eyes and you think about the country that you fled, Lebanon, this is where you were born, this is where you were raised.
Yeah.
What immediately comes to mind?
When I think about Lebanon, and I get very emotional because I feel that somehow it's, when you let go of a baby or a child, I feel like I was robbed of a place. I was robbed of a childhood. I was robbed of a place that I loved so dearly because Lebanon, it was beautiful. It's a beautiful country. And we had amazing memories. I mean, I remember as a child, it's all on the Mediterranean. It's a beautiful country, amazing food, such great hospitality. And there's a sense of like community and family. And when I think of it, I feel like I was robbed of that. I was robbed of a childhood that was supposed to be happy. I was robbed of a place that was my home. And so to me, I feel like Lebanon is that, I always call it's like that boyfriend that you just never get over, that first love. And so to me, I think of Lebanon as, I think of great memories because there was a lot of times where it was wonderful and beautiful and amazing. But it was also bittersweet. It was a bittersweet, thank you. As much as I loved it and as much as I think of it and as much as it always will be in my heart, it's also a place that gave me anxiety. It was a place that was so chaotic, and it was a place that made me grow up really quick. But at the same time, it was just the memories that I had with, our family, our cousins, the beautiful places that we went to in Lebanon, the warmth of the people, the warmth of the country, the culture. It's still in my heart. It's who I am deep down inside. So when I think of Lebanon, I really think of this love that was, taken away from me, but it's still instilled in me. I can never get over it.
Yeah.
And I still get very emotional. I get emotional talking about it. Very much because when you leave a place, you don't really belong there, but you don't really belong here. And you're sort of in this limbo of, oh, who am I? Am I American? Am I Lebanese? I love this culture, so I'm not really fully Lebanese because I'm not mentally fully there, but I'm not mentally fully American because I didn't grow up here.
Yeah.
And so you're lost. You feel like where do I belong? And for a long time, I felt lost. I felt, who am I? Like, what who am I? Am I this person? Am I that person? Do I completely adjust to this culture and forget this culture? And so, yeah, I get very emotional about it because I always call it my first love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got me crying from the first question there.
When was America a realistic possibility for your family?
I think at the time when I came to the States, my brothers were already living here. They were going to college and they had graduated. Two of them had graduated already, were working. Um, and one of them was in college at the time. And so we know when I came to the States, it was just to visit them. It wasn't anything like we're leaving, we're moving, or anything like that. I think when we got to Cyprus, we were supposed to go back home, and my dad said, it's getting really bad and worse. So let's just go visit your brothers. So when I came to the States, I still, in my mind, was not even thinking, oh, this is where I'm going to live forever. It was more, I'm coming here to visit my brothers. I'm just going to wait for the situation to get better. We're just going to go home. And so it didn't hit me that this was my reality and my future until a few months after coming to the States. And my dad decided, you're not going back. You're staying here. And so it was a little bit of a shock for me. It was it hit me like, this is where I'm going to live. And this is where I have to adjust to. And this is a culture that I have to be in. And I'm never going to see my home again. I'm never going to see my school friends again.
Yeah.
So, and that was a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. Store the story gets really good.
Yeah.
It gets better.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to, start to help people understand that you can survive war, things as treacherous and traumatic as war, and get to a place that you've gotten to in your life. Before you ever found success, before you found America, before you built the life that you have today, there was a little girl that was living through war, right? What did that little girl learn about fear and survival that shapes who you are today?
Wow. I mean, that girl, I have to say, survived so much. To talk about fear is to talk about a daily thing. I mean, I feel that my almost daily life in Lebanon was just dodging bombs and running away from death and not knowing when you're going to get up the next day, or if your limbs are going to be intact, or are you going to have your parents alive tomorrow, or am I just going to get hit by a bomb when I'm sleeping at night and just blow up into a million pieces. And fear has never left me. And even coming here after so many years, if I heard a loud sound or somebody shut the door in a loud way or slam the door or any kind of loud noise, I would jump and I literally would start running. And it took me, I want to say, probably a decade in order to have my body still sort of not jump so fast, but kind of like I still get jumpy. Sometimes people go, you're very jumpy. And I go, I think it's just my nervous system. I'm used to that. So fear, I don't think fear ever leaves you, because I think the trauma that I went through was for so long. It wasn't sort of a short period of time. It wasn't like a year or two. It was 14 years. And I think it's the kind of trauma that like just lives in you on a cellular level. Like it really, it's so deep inside you that anything can trigger it at any point. And yeah, so I think I still to this day, loud sounds, people that are, even in my house. And it's funny because my husband's like, what is wrong with you all the time? And I go, I just talk gently. Like, can we just all talk nicely to each other all the time? Because it really, like someone, yelling or screaming, it triggers so much in me that I get so anxious. And so, yeah, I feel like even, 20, 25 years, 30 years later, it's still in me. Yeah. It still has not escaped. I feel like my entire life has been and a survival mode.
I mean, I think I'm sitting across from you and I can feel this. I can feel this emotion, and it's heavy, and I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying with this like cellular level trauma
Yeah.
that's in there. And it's so interesting because obviously we don't know each other personally that well, but how you've occurred for me as I've gotten to know you through social media is as somebody that's like incredibly strong and has like a high degree of willpower
Yeah.
and just confidence, and you
And
would
I'm
never
right.
know on the outside looking at you that this exists, that this is in there. And
Yeah.
I think it's so useful for people to understand that like you cannot completely judge a book by its cover.
Right.
And that's all of us. Like all of us have things that we deal with and trauma and demons that we fight. And I think that's for humanity to become a better place. I just wish that everybody would understand that and treat each other as
100%.
such.
Yeah.
Right. So I appreciate the willingness
Yeah.
to share here.
And I think you're forced. I think when you go through so much trauma, you get to a point where you're forced to be strong, right? And I remember like being little and it's like, be strong, don't cry, be strong, stay strong. And so I think that whole, when you say you look at me and there's an image of me being strong, I am strong, but it's also an image of I have to be strong. It's you're taught to be
Yeah.
that person, right? You're
Yeah.
taught to say, don't cry, be strong.
It's a defense mechanism.
It's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
100%.
You said something earlier that I want to go back to, which is that you said that when you came to America, you felt a little bit lost. Like,
Yeah.
who am I? What am
Right.
I? Am I Armenian? Am I American? When did that change at like an identity level where you just said, no, I know who I am.
Yeah.
And this is where I came from and this is what I'm about. Like, when did that change for you?
It changed, I think, for me when I first came here. I skipped high school. I didn't go to high school. I actually went for about 3 months, and I had graduated middle school in Lebanon. I didn't graduate. I'm sorry. I had 2 months before I graduated middle school in Lebanon. So I actually left before graduating middle school. When I came to the States, my parents wanted to put me in high school, and the high school said she's beyond her years. She needs to go to college, but I didn't speak any English. I spoke Arabic and French, and I had to learn English. And so the school said, we'll just put her for 3 months in high school. She'll graduate with the graduating class. And I was 14 at the time. So I graduated with the seniors that are 18 and 19. And I barely just went, I think it was like, when I say March, April, May, it was just those 3 months of high school that I did. So I really skipped the entire year. But to answer your question, when I went to high school there and then I went to college from there, and there was such a need to belong at that point because I was so lost. I was like, well, I can't really, it's not cool to be Lebanese. I got to be American. I got to speak perfect English. And even though I came here at 14, I didn't speak a word of English, I made sure in order to fit in, to feel that I'm American, I taught myself English. I started just throwing movies in, back then when you had the little videos and whatnot. And I started watching American movies, which we did in Lebanon a lot. But I started watching a lot of movies. I surrounded myself with, friends, and really wanted to learn the language badly and kind of not have an accent. And it was that sense of belonging. And I think it took me probably, I want to say, even in dental school, it took me like a good 4 years to really feel like I'm starting to belong here. My college years were between 14 and 17. I was so young. At that time, it was like, I'm going through puberty, but I'm also trying to figure out this country and the language and who am I. So it was not just like going through normal teenage years, but also having to go through a completely different culture and trying to adjust to the American culture and like trying to adjust to who am I? Am I Lebanese? Am I American? So it took me probably 4 years. I think I didn't really feel that I kind of, here I am and I belong here until I started dental school, which was probably at the age of 17 or 18, something like that.
Yeah. How do you describe yourself now? If somebody, a stranger, meets you for the first time, like,
Oh
how do
my
you describe
gosh.
your ethnicity?
It's funny because always people go, we would never guess you're Lebanese. We would have thought you're American. You have no accent and you don't look Lebanese and all that stuff. I I take so much pride in being Lebanese. I think because we grew up in such a good culture and good mannerism and good way, and we had such strong parents. And my mom and dad, God bless them in heaven, they were amazing parents. So I take so much pride in that. I do say that I'm American, but when people really ask me, where are you from? The first thing that comes out of my mouth is, I'm from Lebanon.
Yeah.
I don't say I'm from here. I say I'm from Lebanon, even though I've been here more of my life than I was in Lebanon. And I do consider myself American, and have adapted to the American culture. I still say I'm Lebanese because purely deep down, I was born and raised, and I'm 100% Lebanese.
Yeah.
But I love the American culture as well. And I love living here, and I love the way of life, and I love this country. And so deep down inside, I'm still that lost. Sometimes I'm still that lost girl.
Yeah.
So when people ask me, where are you from? I kind of give them the whole history. I was born and raised in Beirut, and then I moved to Portland, and then I lived in Boston, and then New York, and then San Diego. And so people look at me, go, and so I can't give a straight answer because I can't say I'm fully American, and I can't say I'm fully Lebanese.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's still that struggle to sort of, who am I? But I love the fact that I have adapted to or adopted both cultures. And I love the fact that I've taken all the beautiful things from Lebanon and all the beautiful things from America and combined it together and made this person out of it. And so that's pretty much who I am. I think it's a good combination of 50-50.
That's awesome. You're Lebanese American.
Yeah, I'm Lebanese American.
I don't know if that's a thing, but it is now.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
There's a thing. It's a yeah.
There's all of, anybody that's from Lebanon that I know, I love, they're just amazing people. And also the food, like Lebanese food amazing. Is like
so good.
I don't know if we do it proper here in America. It's probably not exactly the same.
Probably not the same, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah. So I have a close friend that's half Armenian and half Lebanese, and has a relatively rough childhood, but was able to get out of their situation when he was like 5 or 6 years old. Yeah. But he tells stories about his parents and his grandparents and what they endured in these areas. And I remember having a conversation with him because 2 years ago he had his Canadian citizenship. Yeah. He lives in Montreal, and he just got his U.S. citizenship 2 years ago after 30 years of being in North America. And I remember calling him and just saying congratulations, and I'm so happy for you and the whole thing. Yeah. And he said, man, I don't know if you realize this, but you won the lottery being born in America.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, that really sunk in because I've been to 40 countries. I've seen a lot of parts of the world, and I understood that America's an amazing place and we're fortunate, but I feel like the last 10 or so years, America's getting a little bit of a bad rap, right? Yeah. And things have changed.
Things have changed a lot.
But still, he's compared to 99% of the world, this is the best country in the world still. It's amazing and so much opportunity. And so having lived in both, what is do you feel the same sentiment that living in America and having an American citizenship is like winning the lottery?
I do. I love being here. I feel that it's so much easier. There's so many opportunities. You don't have to struggle so much in order to do well. I think, and this is something that it boggles my mind a lot, because I feel that people that are born here and have been handed so many things and have all the safety and all the opportunities and I feel not that it's easy to become anyone, or not that it's easy to have a good life. You have to work at it, of course. But in general, it's easier than other countries. Yeah. And so sometimes it boggles my mind to see people don't appreciate things. And I think this is why I'm always talking about gratitude, because to me, when I look back at my life and I see the opportunities that people have here as opposed to back home, I want to take advantage of them. I want to have I have gratitude towards their opportunities. Makes me want to work harder. It makes me want to accomplish more. Um, so yeah, I think it's definitely winning lottery being here because you're already in a place that it's safe, number one, which you don't have to worry about your safety in general. I mean, obviously there's always areas and things like that that you got to worry about, but you're in a place where your daily safety is not, questioned, or
Yeah.
it's not an issue. So yeah, for sure.
I'm blown away at the fact that my understanding is that you graduated dental school at
Yeah,
21.
right. Right.
Are you like the youngest person in history to graduate dental school?
I don't know about history, but I
Like how
was the
did
youngest person at school to graduate. Yeah,
for sure.
and I think it had to do with the fact that I skipped high school and
Yeah.
I started college early, graduated early, and went on to dental school. So
What do you think, obviously we now have some foundation for some of your drive and where that came from.
mhm,
It's like the idea that a lot of your drive came from the fact that you were running away from bombs and war as a kid, right? Like I could understand that there would
right,
be a correlation between like
for sure.
just like you get here, you're like, okay, it's the land of the free. Like I have
Yeah,
opportunity, let's go do it. But I mean, to then graduate high school at I don't know 15 or
yeah.
16 and start college immediately and graduate dental school at 21. Where does that? How does that happen? Where does that drive come from? And what's like inspiring you or motivating you at this time to do what you did?
Yeah, I have my dad who I've always looked up to. He was my idol and he was very, very extremely driven, super smart, and always accomplished something every single day. He was a politician, he was an entrepreneur, he was a writer, poet, and public speaker. And so I had a great example. And I think also being the youngest child out of eight, I felt that I always had to prove myself, because everyone, when you're the baby, people baby you and sort of sometimes they don't listen to you because you're the baby, you listen to your older brothers and sisters. And maybe it had a little bit to do with that. But in general, I feel that my drive has to do with my why. And my why is always comes, I think, from the fact that I do appreciate being alive and I do appreciate the sunrise and every single moment and everything that I have around me. And I look at life in such a positive way, even though there was so many things that have happened in my life that were, negative, whether it's the war or the moving, sometimes even moving here was a little bit of a trauma for me. I have never looked at myself as a victim. And I think I've always looked at life in such a positive way. And obviously my drive right now is also my kids. I have two kids that I love and adore, and I wake up every day with so much gratitude, and I don't want them to have to go through any anxiety. And I always say, I want to raise kids that when they're adults, they don't have to go to therapy to fix their childhood or to get over their childhood. And so my why are my two kids. I work hard for them. I want to leave a legacy behind. I want to show them that, life is beautiful, that mom worked hard to give you everything you've had. And it comes so much from just appreciating and knowing that life can be taken away from you at any moment. I think people don't realize that. I think most people think we're here on earth for a long time, or we're never going to die,
Yeah.
or we have all this time to do what we want. And when you look at it, when you've gone through this trauma of like, oh my God, my life can be taken away at such a young age, you realize you don't have that much time. So if you're going to do something, you got to do it now. And so when I put something in my head, and my husband always tells me, he's like, you're just like, when you want to do something, you just go do it. And even my siblings are always, when Guitta wants to do something, she just goes after it and she does it. And I think it's that fear of knowing that I'm not here for a long time. I don't have much time. So if I want something, I got to go after it today, not tomorrow. I got to do it today. And that's always been my way. It's always been the way I've thought. And so when there's something that in my head that I want to do, I just literally go after it. And my biggest fear always is I picture myself on my deathbed. I've always done that. It's almost like a daily thing where I picture myself on my deathbed, and I don't want to have a regret of, I wish I did that. I wish I had gone here. I wish I had opened this business. I wish I was this way. I wish I had to spend this much time with my kids. And that has always been my biggest fear, of being on a deathbed and having regret of not doing something, because I'd rather do it and fail at it and try again and get up and do it again than ever say I didn't try. And that is my biggest fear. And I always tell everyone, I'm like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to work hard. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to do what I got to do, because I'll rest when I'm underground and dead. And that's kind of been why I have such a big drive, and I really go after what I want.
Yeah. Man, that's powerful. I mean, there's a lot that we could say about your why and finding your purpose. I mean, I think that we're going to spend some time talking about mental health today.
Yeah.
And the suicide and depression rate, particularly among men, is higher than it's ever been in the history of the world right now. And I feel like finding your why is really like it's the fuel that will propel you to tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. And so if you feel like maybe this will be my last day, and you have thoughts of suicide and thoughts of depression, I think if everybody in the world could develop a why that was big enough, like the one that you just articulated, the suicide rate would drastically decrease. And I think it's when you lose that, when you lose your why, you lose your purpose, and you think that, well, the only way out is death.
For sure.
That's an irrational thought that is fueled by a lack of purpose and a lack of a why.
100%.
And also, to me, it's like the motivating principle of action to just like achieve anything that you want in life. Like I am a big believer in the notion that you can have it all.
Absolutely.
Name the thing, set your sight on it, have faith and believe that it's possible, and then have a why that's strong enough for why you want to achieve that thing. And that will be the motivating principle that propels you forward on a daily basis to do the things that you need to do to obtain that.
100%. I think my biggest, even though the way I'm raising my kids, and sometimes, even my kids, my daughter and my son, they know, they're like, mommy doesn't take no for an answer. And they always say that. My husband's more relaxed. He's more like, okay, well, we can't go this way. It's fine. I'm like, no. What? Somebody said no to me? I'm going to go that way. And I think, I've always been this way where, and I'm raising my kids the same way. I'm like, never take no for an answer. Don't ever put it in your head that you can't do something. Instead of saying no, always say yes. And if someone says you can't do this, why can't I do that? Try harder, try even harder. And so I'm bringing them up with that mentality of always working harder for what you want and never to settle for anything. Because I think most people get to a point where if they've been told no, or they feel like they can't achieve something, or let's say something bad happens in their life, they really take that and they spiral down. And this is when depression and anxiety and all this hits. And then you feel like, oh my God, it's like the end of the world. And there's nothing in this world that's ever going to fix it or going to ever make it better.
Yeah.
But if you change your mindset and say, okay, well, this bad thing happened to me. How can I thrive? And how can I grow from it? And how can I be better? And like for me, every situation, every bad situation that's happened to me, no matter what it is, whether it's a heartbreak, whether it's I didn't get the things I want, whether it was, whatever it is, work-wise or personal, it has made me work harder to achieve what I want more than when things are actually going great. And it's funny, my drive gets bigger and I work harder when something bad happens in my life. And that's just always how I've been. I've anytime there's been a negative any kind of negativity in my life, I've always taken that and used it as a purpose to fuel me to do better and be bigger and, be more powerful. And so that's how I think about things.
Do you get uncomfortable when things are too comfortable?
That's a very good question. I do. It's so funny because I feel that, and I think that also has to do so much with my childhood, because I feel when things are going really good in my life and everything is great, I get a little scared. I feel that I'm always waiting for something bad to happen. And I think that also stems from having, being raised in a war and going through that chaos, like, where one day is great in Lebanon and you're in the mountain and you're living this beautiful life. And, next day you're like, people are coming to stab you and they're going to kill you and there's bombs. And so it's that fear of always something going bad is going to happen. And so when things are calm in my life, I get a little scared. It's almost like a worry where, okay, something's bad's going to happen. And I had to go through, this was probably about 3 years ago, where I had to really teach myself how to accept the good things in my life. It was almost that I had to sit down, and this is when I started to meditate and have so much gratitude and pray so much more, is because, and sometimes I cry because things are going great in my life. It's so funny. I mean, some people cry because it's something bad is happening, but I cry sometimes when something really good is happening. I'll literally sit and I go, oh my God, it's so good. Like, thank you, God. But yeah, I think it's that because you're used to the chaos and you're used to that fear and you're always expecting something bad to happen, that when something, when things are great, are going good, you tend to like have a little bit of anxiety about it.
Yeah, it's like an unnatural feeling.
It is.
When there's too much ease and comfort, it's like, this doesn't feel natural.
It doesn't feel right. Yeah.
Yeah, I have felt that too, for obviously different reasons than your childhood. But, Heston, who's my producer in here, would attest that, like, if my life ever feels too straightforward, or too simple or easy or comfortable, I almost have to like manufacture some hard stuff.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so
the
it's
same
like
exact way.
it's like more intensity at the gym or more something to just like, I need to create a little more chaos in my life because that's what feels actually more comfortable for me. Yeah.
It's almost puts you in a, it's that fight or flight mode gets you going. It gets you, you're so used to that. For me, I'm so used to constantly being in this crazy chaotic mode. Like, I'm ready to run. And even, it's funny, even to this day, my first instinct anywhere I go is to just always find the exit and how do I get out of here? How do I run away from here? Yeah. And even though it's been like years and years and years, it's still so embedded in me where I'm always expecting something bad to happen. So I'm always looking for a way out. And if there isn't a way out, I start to panic. So yeah, it's, I think we're just used to the chaos and it's comforting to us in a weird way.
A conversation I've been having a lot lately, I don't know why this topic keeps coming up. Maybe it's because it's close to my heart and it's like a bit of wisdom that I want to share with the people that I love and with the world, is this idea that, like, one of the things that breaks my heart is when young people take their life. Yeah. Because when you're young, you don't have enough just time to recognize the way that this life is intended to work. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, I think that God has designed this life for us to go through really hard things. Yeah. And they're all for a purpose, a greater purpose that generally we don't understand when we're going through it. In fact, probably 100% of the time we don't understand why me in this situation. But as you have just more time on earth and you go through more things, you build up these tolerances and you go, like, when shit hits the fan, you just go, no, this is like for a greater purpose. For sure. It sucks right now. Yeah. And I don't understand why it's happening to my family or to me or to somebody that I love. But one day I will. Yeah. And I'm here and I want to just see what that is. Yeah. I want to experience the light at the end of this tunnel. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, for sure. I think I've gone through so many situations where I was like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And I've learned, it's the same exact thing that you're saying. I've learned over the years too, and this is recent, like recently in the last 5 years, I would say I've learned to accept them and understand that they're meant to be because they're opening another door. And so when one door closes, I used to panic before. I used to be, oh my God, what am I going to do? Why is this happening? I would get sad. I would get, angry. I would get anxious about it. And now when something bad happens, I always look at it, and I've taught myself that it's something that you have to teach yourself to understand that. And I think that's something that you actually learn as you get older. It comes with age, because obviously when you're younger, you don't know because you haven't had the time to see, well, this happened because of that. But so many things have happened in my life where I go, why is this happened? Why am I here? Why me? And you don't sometimes realize it till 6, 7, 8 years down the line. It's not something that you're going to realize 6 months later, but years sometimes down the line, you go, oh my God, like now I see it. Now I see why this happened. Like God was protecting me. And so because I've had so many of these situations happen to me, and years later, I was like, oh my God, if I had still been with that person, this is what would have happened to me. If I still been in this situation, this is what would have happened to me. Now I take those things and I don't say why. I literally sit and I close my eyes and I pray and I go, I know there's a reason why it's happening.
Yeah.
I know there's a bigger reason why this is happening, and I'm just going to accept it and I'm going to go with it. And I think when you get to that point in your life where you let things happen, and obviously you have to, certain things, you have to go after and make sure they're right or wrong or whatnot. But in general, when you sort of surrender to that bigger force, you tend to relax a little bit and you tend to understand, okay, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Something's good is going to come out of this.
So obviously you've now developed this reputation around being an incredible practicing dentist in Orange County. And, you and your husband have this practice that's thriving and the whole deal. For me, and I've gotten asked this question as well after I sold my last business, it would have been a lot easier to just like hide away in a closet and not be public facing and not be on social media and not have people know anything about my life. Like that is an easier path.
Oh, for sure.
But for some reason I felt called and just compelled to do what I'm doing now with my platform.
Yeah.
What is that calling for you? Like, why are you doing what you're doing online?
I think the biggest reason for me to be online and have, such a public image is, number one, impact. I think there's always been this fire and calling inside of me where I want to help. I want to serve. And I used to be very private before. I used to be definitely way more private and didn't really tell people my business. I didn't kind of post where I went. But over the years, I realized that the more I shared, people started, asking me, and they would DM me like, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I think little by little, I realized that even the littlest things made an impact on someone's life. And I would get DMs and people would say, you changed my life. Just you posting you're working out in the morning made me want to work out. I've lost 10 pounds. I feel so much better. I have so much energy. And it was sort of a gradual thing where I built it up little by little. And I realized I'm making an impact here. People are actually looking up to me and like I'm helping people. And it sort of grew from there, whether it was, doing the cosmetic dentistry and changing lives, with changing smiles, or maybe just posting my workouts and saying, listen, I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I have a practice. I volunteer at school. I have a podcast. I'm doing all this. And I'm here working out at 5 a.m. in the morning. It really inspired so many women. Although there was people that would, sometimes when you're rising and when you're sharing things, when you're opening up, people criticize you. And there's always that backlash that comes with it.
It's awesome.
And sometimes it's not pretty. And I've had people go, oh, like she's posting her workouts. Like, why are you doing that? You're a doctor. You don't need to do that. And it took me years to realize. And at first it used to bother me because my whole intent was to inspire people And I know a lot of moms would come up to me and go, well, how do you do it all? Like, how do you look good? How do you run a practice? You cook. And I used to come home and cook every night, and the house was always perfect. And I was the one who was throwing all the parties. And so I started little by little giving free advice on Instagram. And I would literally sit for an hour at night and DM people back. And this is how I do it. And then I said, why don't I just use this platform to really like change people's lives? And that's when I started putting everything online for me. And people sometimes go, well, you don't put your vacations online. Don't like post this and that. And I'm very raw person. I'm very real. I don't, can we cuss on this thing? I don't bullshit.
You got nothing to hide.
I say it like it is. I'm real. If I like you, I like you. And if I don't like you, you'll know I don't like you. I'm not the type of person who will say hi to you and kiss and then talk about you behind your back. And so I wanted to be real as well on Instagram. I really wanted to tell people if I'm having a bad day and I'm exhausted, I literally would put it, I'm having a bad day, I'm exhausted, but here I am, I'm showing up. And so it was just really that, the fire in me that wanted to impact people and inspire, and just even getting a DM sometime. Like the other day, I got a DM from a dental student. And she's been following me for a while. I didn't know. Obviously, I have a bunch of followers. And she reached out to me. She DM'd me. She goes, can I just ask you like a question? And I said, sure. She goes, I'm second-year dental student. And she goes, what did you do in dental school that, kept you mentally balanced and healthy? And where does your confidence come from? And I really just was like, at night, I was exhausted. I was so tired. And instead of typing, I just took my phone and I left her a long voice note. And I said, I'm so glad you reached out to me. And she said, what books are you reading? What books made you feel, confident? And I said, it's not the books that I'm reading. It's really a process that I had to go through. It's a transformation. This is what I had to do. And I told her exactly what I did. So I think even that one person that sometimes reaches out to you, that you inspire, even if you can inspire one life, it's still a one life and it's still a big deal. And that's what brings me joy at the end of the day, receiving messages from people going, you've inspired me to do this, or I came to your office and I got a smile makeover. My life has changed, whatever it is, whether it's fitness or health or teeth, or it just brings me that joy, because at the end of the day, no matter how successful you are, what truly makes you happy is not where you are and what your status is and your big house and what you're wearing and what you're driving. Because those things at the end of the day, they don't bring you peace and joy and happiness. It's really serving people and making an impact and changing people's lives. And that's really why I started Smile Diaries podcast. That's why I'm writing my book right now. That's why I'm doing the coaching programs. It's all because of that fire in me that wants to impact and change and inspire.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
One of my best friends in the world is Dr. Trevor Nichols. He's an orthodontist out here and very well known in the Valley, and just a beautiful specimen of a man. Trevor, shout out. Love you.
Hi, Trevor.
You will meet him one day.
I hope so.
A phenomenal man. And the way that he talks about why he got into dentistry is like the most beautiful thing ever. Right. And it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with fame. It has nothing to do with any of the vain things of the world. And it has everything to do with not even just the smile, but what's downstream from the smile, or maybe even upstream, however you want to put that. But and so I don't want to go into, all of the reasons he does, but I want you to articulate why did you get into it, and what is it about a smile that doesn't just change somebody's aesthetic, but it could potentially change their life?
I got into dentistry originally because obviously I love medicine and I love the human body, and I was always so intrigued by how it worked. But the reason I picked dentistry is it wasn't about teeth, like you're saying. It was never about filling and drilling and all that. To me, it was about the life that you're changing. It's about the person that's sitting in your chair. When someone comes to you and says, and they're hiding their mouth and they go, I haven't smiled in 10, 15 years. Oh. Or when someone comes to you and says, I'm not able to get a job, or I don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend and I can't get into a relationship because my teeth I don't have a beautiful smile. And the second I deliver these veneers or crowns or the smile makeover, and instantly their face changes and they start smiling, and they come back to you in a week or two and they said, I got that job. I'm dating now. It's not about the teeth. It's about the entire process. It's about the life that you are changing from that smile. So to me, dentistry is not about drilling. It's not about filling. It's not just about making someone look pretty. It's about really everything beyond that smile. How did I impact that person's life? That person was never able to smile. Now he did. And to give you an example, I've had a mom patient of mine who's been my patient forever. Her son was living in Utah, and she came up to me one day and she goes, Dr. Harb, my son hasn't smiled in about, I want to say he was 28. She goes, he hasn't smiled since he was probably like 17 or 18. It's been a decade. Can I fly him down from Utah and would you do his smile? And he came over and his head was down. Literally, he walked in my office, his head was down. He was not looking, straight. He was sitting in my chair and kind of talking and doing this and covering his teeth. And I did the exam on him, and, there was decay everywhere, and there was, gum disease and all this kind of stuff. And every tooth needed to be repaired. It was literally a smile makeover. So I sat him down and I said, listen, this is going to be a 2-visit process, and we're going to, give you this beautiful smile. And I did. I prepped his teeth. We gave him beautiful veneers. And the day I delivered the veneers, the mom came into the room and they were both bawling. Like they were both just crying because the mom walked into my room and she looked at him and he was just smiling. And she goes, she grabbed my hand. She goes, I haven't seen my son smile in 10 years. To see my son smiling is priceless. And so I was sitting there in my chair and I was shaking because of the amount of, energy and all of that was happening. And I'm looking at my hands and I'm going, like, these hands have changed not just teeth, a life. And so that's what dentistry provides for me. Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's powerful.
I think it's one of these things that probably a lot of people take for granted, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is like to have a good smile.
Yeah. I think most people don't know the impact a smile has on anyone. And I always say to them, the first thing I do when I walk in anywhere, or even when I'm on the street in my neighborhood, I'm like, hi, how are you? And I smile. I'm very everyone goes, you're so friendly. I'm like, because it's when you smile at someone, they smile right back at you. It changes your life. Changes your day. You might be having a bad day and someone looks at you, go, hi, how are you? And they smile. It's instant. It's like, it just makes you happy instantly. And so to me, to even think about, to phantom the idea that someone doesn't smile or they're too embarrassed to smile or can't smile. I mean, imagine you can't talk properly. Imagine you can't smile at someone. You want to express your feelings, but you can't. I mean, that's huge. That's just, and having the ability, a gift with my own hands to give that to someone is incredible. And that's what I mean by, that's what dentistry provides for me. And at the end of the day, that's why I found my niche in cosmetic dentistry. It's because of that. And it wasn't really about the money, and it wasn't because it's very stressful. It's very, very stressful part of dentistry. I mean, you're married to that case for life. Yeah. I give people my cell phone and I go, in the middle of the night, if anything happens, you call me. And they do sometimes, they'll call me at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning and they're like, this tooth and that tooth. Because, you're working on not just the tooth, you're working on a huge smile makeover. And so there's a lot of stress that comes with it. And it's not something simple or easy to do. But I do it because it gives me that satisfaction of I'm serving, I'm changing lives, I'm impacting. And that to me is worth all the back pain and the shoulder pain and all the anxiety. And sometimes my neck gets stuck in a certain place. I can't get it out. But yeah, it's really a life-changing process.
Yeah. I was going to say this isn't even an observation. This is just factual that being in dentistry comes at a cost, right? Yeah. I don't know that a lot of people know this. If you listen to the podcast, you would, because Melissa Methven, whose show you're going to go on after this, talked about her husband who committed suicide, who was an orthodontist, and and talked about the fact that dentistry is the number one for suicide in any profession, like on a per capita basis.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind. And I wanted to understand why. And she articulated that it's for a myriad of reasons, right? But what are the costs associated with being a dentist? And do you feel like you, in a lot of ways, end up taking on the anxiety and the stress and the dis-ease of clients that are sitting in the chair?
Absolutely. I think I was reading an article and it said 1 out of 6 dentists has thought about suicide. 1 out of 6. That's really high. 42% of dentists have depression and 47 are constantly anxious and experience anxiety disorder. Those are very high numbers, I think, for any profession. And I think the reason why, and obviously I've been practicing dentistry for a long time, number one is people associate dentists with pain, right? And probably 75 to 80% of patients, when they come to see you, the first thing they say to you is, I hate the dentist.
Yeah.
So imagine having a job, imagine whatever you do, right? And imagine I walk in here today and I go, Tyler, I hate being here. And I hate you. I mean, imagine that consistently on a day-to-day basis, someone walking into your business, asking for your help.
Like, I don't want to be here.
But telling you, I hate the dentist. And so it takes a toll on you after a while, number one. And I used to take it really personally when I first graduated dental school because number one, they don't teach these things in dental school. They teach you how to drill and fill and they say, goodbye, here's your white coat, here's your diploma, see you later.
Yeah.
And so I remember personally getting out of dental school and I was 21 at the time. I was super young and I got my white coat and I'm like, here I am, my first day. I'm all excited. I'm like, I want to kick some butt. And literally my first patient sat there and they go, I don't want to be here. I hate the dentist. No offense to you. And so how does that make you feel when you're there to help someone, when you have put so much effort and time and money into schooling and endless sleepless nights to study and someone comes to you and says that? So that's really the number one reason. But beyond that, it's also most people are anxious being in your chair. So when you're running around and typically each dentist has about 3 to 4 rooms that they work out of and they're running from patient to patient to patient, patients never want to be in a dental office. They don't want to be in your chair because they're associating dentistry with pain and needles and drilling. And so when they're anxious and you're hovering over them and you're trying to calm them down and you're like, it's okay, you're doing great. You're anxious at the same time. I mean, sometimes my heart is palpitating as I'm trying to take their anxiety away.
Yeah.
Then you finish from that patient and you run into the next patient. You haven't had a bathroom break. You haven't drank a sip of water. You haven't eaten lunch because most dentists can attest to that. We hardly ever get a lunch hour.
Can't even breathe. Take a deep breath.
Yeah. And
right?
so you go to the next patient. And so the next patient's sitting there. And then again, you hover over that patient and the patient's like, is this going to hurt? It's hurting. Oh my God. Can you numb me? And so you're going, stay calm. You're doing great. It's okay. It's all of that. Imagine 8 to 9 hours of that a day. And how does that do to your nervous system? And eventually over time, your nervous system gets messed up and you start to get anxious yourself. You start to get depressed. And though all these things end up leading to suicide and thoughts of suicide. The other thing also is because dentistry is very meticulous. So you are working, the mouth is a small hole, but also you're working in the tooth in a small hole inside the tooth. So it's very meticulous. You're working with millimeters, very close. And, if you're like 0.5 millimeter away, you just ruined a crown, or maybe you took too much tooth structure. Now you're into root canal. So there's so much little things involved. And it's such a meticulous,
the precision,
very meticulous procedure. Right.
Yeah.
So all day you're kind of working in a small area with little millimeters. And so it's exhausting. And at the same time, you have to be a therapist because you're there. You have to be there for your patients. You're running an office. You're a doctor, but you're also running a practice. So you have to worry about your employees and running a business and marketing and insurance and billing. And you get denied and you got this and you have overhead and you have your student loans and you have your business loans. and your assistant didn't show up and your hygienist is not there. And so you're wearing so many hats all day long, as opposed to, okay, let's just say you're doing something else, sitting on a computer or working. You're literally being a doctor, and you're being a boss, and you're being a therapist, and you're taking on this other, kid that's crying in the other room because I don't want to be here. And so at the end of the day, it's so much pressure and dentistry that most people don't realize the impact it has mentally. And I feel that as dentists, we take that home with us too. And we really measure our success and who we are with how good of a dentist we are. And I think they don't teach you that in dental school, where it's like you need to separate being a dentist and what you're doing, your skill, from who you are. And so we get lost. We get lost in that identity of, because this person didn't like me, maybe I didn't do the perfect crown, or this tooth ended up in a root canal. Now I'm a bad person. And you take that home. And instead of separating your skill or your work with who you really are, it becomes so mixed up. And that's why people start thinking badly of themselves. And that's where I think and this is the reason why we have the highest rate of suicide. Yeah. There's just a bunch of factors that goes into it.
That's really well articulated. And man, that just the way you describe the chaos that you could feel in any given day, any given hour, any given minute is intense. Like, it makes me feel anxious just hearing that.
Yeah.
That also is good context for the reason why you're so passionate about wellness.
Yeah.
But I think that wellness is a buzzword that I don't love, because I think it's just thrown around too loosely, right? So for you, what does it mean to be truly well?
Well, for me, being truly well is about, most importantly, number one, mental health. And I say that because I had gone through that experience where I was so burnt out. I had so much anxiety. I would wake up with, oh my God, another day of work, and I have to prep this tooth, and I have to do this case. And so wellness to me is not just about popping in the right vitamin and looking good and, having a sexy body. It has nothing to do with that. And as you notice on Instagram, I always say I'm in the gym for mental health.
Yeah.
I'm here because it's mindset. I'm not here to lose a pound. I'm not here to lose, be a certain weight. I'm not here to look good in my clothes. That comes secondary, right? I think to me, wellness is being fully balanced mentally and also physically. So when you start to work out and you start to lift weights and you start to take care of yourself, you little by little, you see your mindset is changing and your mental health is improving. And so for me, it's just a combination of the two. And the reason why wellness is so important to me, because I hit bottom, rock bottom. I got to a point after a decade of doing dentistry, maybe even longer, 12 years. I literally collapsed in my office one day. I couldn't feel my body. It went numb. My heart started palpitating. I had major arrhythmias. And I couldn't control my heart rate and the rhythm I was going. It was so out of whack that I couldn't even get a word out. I couldn't even speak. And I remember my husband was in the office that day, because sometimes he's not. And thankfully that day he was there. And I remember calling him from his office, and I go, something's wrong with me. I'm extremely dizzy and I'm not feeling I feel like I'm going numb everywhere. And my heart is out of whack, and I have to cough to get my rhythm back in order. And he was asking me, what's wrong with you? And I couldn't even get a sentence out because my heart was constantly going like this, that the words weren't coming out of my mouth. And so luckily when you're a cardiologist, so I said, get me to the cardiologist now. Something's wrong with my heart. And I literally thought I was going to die. And this was about 5 years ago. So I'm super young. I'm healthy. I work out. And they got me to the cardiologist right away. Right away, I was hooked up to EKGs. And as I'm laying down on the bed, and I've literally wires everywhere, on my feet, on my legs, on my heart, everywhere. I looked over and I just see the cardiologist's face, and I see the EKG just going off like crazy. And within maybe barely 3 seconds of the EKG, the cardiologist goes, you're having major heart arrhythmias. And this is not, I don't think this is anything related to you being unhealthy, because you're not overweight and you work out and you're, there's nothing in that. It's not anything like that. He's like, this is stress related. So my husband was with me at the time, and the cardiologist looked at me and he goes, Dr. Harb. I go, what? And I could barely talk. Like I said, I said, what? And he goes, when was the last time you took a lunch hour? And I go, lunch hour? What's a lunch hour? You're kidding? Like I got to be the perfect mom. So between 1 and 2, I'm going to volunteer at the kids' school. I'm volunteering at art. I put on the apron. I'm the lunch lady because I'm trying to be this perfect dentist and this perfect mom and the perfect wife and the perfect boss. And so he said, when was the last time you took lunch? And I said, are you kidding? Like, I don't ever get a lunch hour. I've been doing dentistry for like 12, 13 years. I've never taken a lunch hour. I'm either charting in my office. I'm either answering patients. I'm either calling insurances. I'm either volunteering at my kids' school, running around, come back to the office. And he looks at me, he goes, when was the last time you went out in the sun? And I said, he's like, you live in California. You live in Southern California. Why don't you go out and put your body just in the sun for 5 to 10 minutes? I said, I never have time. So he looked at me, he goes, well, you keep what you're doing up, and your kids are not going to have a mom, and your husband's not going to have a wife, and your patients won't have a dentist, and your employees won't have a boss. And at that point, it as he's saying those things to me, it like this light bulb, people say a light bulb kind of lit up in their brain. And that's really what happened to me. This light bulb just went off, and I go, oh my God, like, what am I doing? What am I chasing? What am I doing? I'm not taking care of myself. And he looked at me, he goes, you're not taking care of yourself. You are filling everybody else's cup, but you're not filling your own cup. And this is why you've collapsed. And this is why you're here. And literally it took me, I had to close my office, and it was 4 days of testing. One day was echocardiogram. One day was stress test on the treadmill. One day was EKGs. I literally was in his office 3 to 4 days in a row. And at the end of the day, they found out that it was just all anxiety and stress. And he goes, you have a heart of an athlete. He couldn't even get my heart rate up on the treadmill because I was a runner and I always worked out. And he goes, you have a heart of an athlete, but your arrhythmias are coming from stress and anxiety. And he goes, you need to slow down. You need to take care of yourself. And that's at that point 5 years ago where I sat home that morning and I said, what am I going to do to change this? I want to live. I want to be a mom. I want to be a wife. I want to see my kids grow up and get married. Like, how do I do this? And that's when I really got into the mental health and wellness. And I started getting up earlier. I started journaling. I started meditating. I started praying. And I built a home gym. And I said, rain or shine, I'm going to work out. And that's really when my transformation journey started. And when I really got into wellness. And when I say I got into wellness, I used to run a lot and I used to work out a lot, but it wasn't anything like that. It was, here and there 3 times a week. But I didn't focus on the mental aspect of it. I was doing it to lose a pound or 2 or look good in my clothes. But really when I got into the gym and I started, putting on my music, and the 4:30 a.m. and the 5 a.m. when the world is sleeping and no one's around and the kids are not asking for me, and the employees are not asking for Dr. Harb, and there's no mommy, there's no honey. And that's when I took the time to really get up, have a cup of coffee, and sit in my own thoughts, write things down, journal, and find a purpose. Why am I here? What am I doing today? What's my purpose today? Who am I seeing? Why? And all of that. That's when I started to wake up. And I call it, this is why my program's called Awaken, because I really woke up. I woke up from this robotic life. And I started lifting weights daily, 7 days a week. And through transforming my body, I got mentally strong through changing all of that. And that's really what mental health and wellness means to me. That's when I started to find real balance. And balance is also another word that people throw around a lot, because it's really, there's no such thing as balance, but there's a thing of, being mentally healthy and physically healthy and happy. And I realized that I was building everybody up, and I was building this amazing practice, and I had the house and I had the car and I had everything I needed, the handsome husband and the 2 beautiful kids and healthy, and everything. But deep down inside, it was all about them, and it was never about me. And I was really building an image, and I wasn't building me. And so at that point I realized, no, I gotta change my life around. And that's when I really got into self-care. And when I say self-care, I wasn't traveling or going to a spas or anything. It was really just having the hour and a half in the morning to myself, where it was just about Guitta.
Yeah.
And so that's what wellness means to me. And that's why I really got into the mental health. And really, I pushed that so much because, sometimes a lot of women reach out and they go, how do you look so good? And how do you lose weight? And so with my awakening program, I go, it's not really about the losing the weight. It's a mindset change. It's a transformation. It's a lifestyle. And it's not just about dropping a pound or two and looking good in your pants. And so to me, it really was a journey of like self-discovery that I had to teach myself over a period of 2 to 3 years. And it was little by little, it was like little things, One day I got up a little 15 minutes earlier. The next day it was 30 minutes earlier. Then I started journaling, then meditating, then working out. And it was these little things that I started to do that down the road added up and completely changed me. I mean, from the inside out.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
This was an amazing interview. I'm really happy that we did it. And
thank you.
I really appreciate your authentic nature and being willing to share what you've shared today. To wrap this, if you had the opportunity to sit down with that little girl who fled war, what do you think you would tell her today?
Oh my gosh, I would tell that little girl that fled the war to know that everything that's happening to her is happening for a reason, and to not be afraid. I would tell her to embrace everything and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and she's going to come out of this even more stronger and more beautiful and more powerful.
Amazing. Dr. Guitta Harb, thank you for joining the Roller Coaster Podcast.
Guys, it made me so emotional.
That's a wrap.